I'm excited that you're here today to actually take off on a venture together. It's what I would call an outward focused adventure. Or maybe other language I might use is you're actually invited to participate in what I might call a faith adventure challenge. Now, in order to give you some idea of where this might actually take us today, I am going to ask for 6 volunteers to help me kind of get us started here today. Anybody like to help us with this particular example? Okay, I'll pick you. I'll hand out. Just go ahead and show your hands. All right, I've got 3. 1, 2, 3. I need 3 more. There's 4, 5, and 6. Okay, if you could come on up and position yourself over here in the corner, right over here. For the sake of this illustration, let's assume that you, the audience, represents the world that we live in. And right now, because I have selected 6 from amongst you to come out from this audience to now become part of the church. You are now, in the language of the Bible, the ecclesia, the called out ones. You have been set apart from this audience or this world, and you are now, as for this example, the church. So if you're going to be a good church, could you demonstrate to the world that you are all one by just forming a circle and holding hands? Very, very good. And you know what's interesting is they have actually done what audiences have done all over the world when asked to participate in an example like this. They actually formed a circle and held hands, and they all naturally just faced inward. I didn't give them that assignment. They just chose to particularly do that. And what I'd like to suggest to you is that it's natural for churches to kind of, if you would, form around and become a community that enjoy one another. Sometimes it means they dress the same. Sometimes it means they vote the same. Sometimes it means they all like a lot of the same kind of things. And if they're not careful, they can stay here and become what might be called an inwardly focused church. Notice, for the sake of our example, where they're at in relationship to the audience or to the world. Their backs are to you. Now, I would think if you're a good church, you'd want these folks to actually come and join you. And often what churches do when they find themselves in this situation is they will begin to send out messages to those of you who are presently still in the world to come and see, to come to this community and become part of this community. Now, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions here in just a moment. If you would represent the real world that we live in presently today, and this group of people were actually inviting you to come and join them, think of one-word responses. When you hear the word Christian, what does that stir up in your mind? What kind of perceptions do you have of this group of people if you truly represent the world and you think about Christians the way people in the world often think about Christians? Can you give me a couple of examples? One word to come. Yes?
Self-righteous.
Self-righteous. Isn't that exciting? A bunch of self-righteous people over here. Anyone else? Yes?
Hypocritical.
Yes?
Judgment.
Yes?
Exclusive country club.
An exclusive country club. Whoa. Ah. Now, what's interesting here is they're shaking their heads. And this is really probably a great picture of reality in the world today. Most churches don't see them. And if I went out on the street and did on-the-street interviews, here's what I'd hear. This group of people, they are homophobic. They are anti-intellectual. They're judgmental. They're very narrow-minded, bigoted. The list goes on. Aren't you excited? You know, wouldn't you be excited if you were invited to become a group of a bunch of narrow-minded, anti-intellectual, homophobic, I mean, that's kind of scary when it comes right down to it. Which is why, could I say, that a lot of our come and see approaches that once worked when Christianity held the dominant worldview, was a dominant worldview here in America, today, the invitation to come and see and become part of this group is pretty scary to people who are outside of it. Now, I'm not sure why a church, other than the fact it's just, I guess it's just natural, but a better example of what the church should look like, the way God intended the church to look, is like you would form a circle, continue to hold hands, but face outward. Have you ever stopped to think that the church, the ecclesia, literally exists and could be one of, if not the only, organizations that exist for people who are presently outside of it? And that when we forget this, then we've lost our sense of mission.